if I said the word, the phrase world music to you, what's your thought of what that means?
On contrary to most English people who seem to have a really bad vision of that, I never had a pejorative vision of that term. I mean, it's not it doesn't mean a lot when you. It's like every word you put on music. If you look at them too closely, it's not going to make any sense, because at the end of the day, it's individuals making sounds, and the reality of those individuals is so complex. It's way more complex than the name of the country where they come from on their passport, for instance. Being French, I really grew up with a lot of world music around, like African, Central African, also Moroccan, Algerian, and it's everywhere in France. In the charts, we've always had world music high in the charts in France, whether it was the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
Yes.
It's like there is a kind of trend at the moment going on, but I think the world music thing is like I always say it's like a pair of jeans, it never really totally gets out of fashion, and it's likely to be around for a very long time.
It is interesting that sort of British or Anglo-American attitude towards it, that they're using it as a category, or almost using it in a way as an easy way to control a lot of very complicated things. It's
a bit of a mystery for me to understand why English people have such a bad there's such a bad image of that. I think it's because I think the Jamaican and the Caribbean culture is so now rooted in the British culture that it's not considered foreigner culture anymore. It's considered homemade almost, even though it's in Jamaica. And but everything that comes out of that category seems to be I don't know. I think it might be something to do with Peter Gabriel. I'm slowly thinking, because he's been releasing a lot of like weird world music on his label. And at the end of the day, the more I talk to people, the more I realize when you say world music in England, I think they think about like white hippies with beard and smoking pipes and like listening to boring music, or like or pygmies, or I don't know.
Also, instead of it being thought of as sensual or sensational or intoxicating, it was always considered almost to be something that was educational, that it was worthy, and therefore
it takes the fun away from music.
No pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, it's a time to reinvent everything. It's a bit like people still talk way too much about electronic music against organic music, when both processes are inside most music you hear. There's going to be some electronic sounds in there, and there's going to be some organic sounds as well. It's like it doesn't really make sense anymore. The same as like the old record shop sections of like rock, dance, hip hop. Everything is everything is to be reinvented. Not only the business model, like we were saying, but also the way we look at music.
One of the other problems that I think certainly the British had with the idea of world music was the same problem they kind of had with fusion music, that by putting one exotic thing with one Western thing, it was the Western thing that took over and sort of made it a bit, decorative. It made it a bit Starbucks, if you like. It made it a bit musical tourism. And I think that's what's interesting about what you do, the idea that you would explore different musical cultures, but fundamentally playing it back into pop, back into dance music, without losing both sides, if you like.
I mean, it really feels like nothing new to me, like the Rolling Stones getting inspiration by the black music and rock and roll, and was probably the same. It's like everything in art. It doesn't matter what you use to make it. What matters is what comes out of it, And that's my #1 rule when it comes to music. Is I only listen to what comes out of the speakers, and a lot of the time I'm not really interested to know who did it before. Sometimes coming back to ghetto music, sometimes you're gonna have like rich white kids stealing all those ghetto music ideas and trying to make their own kind of ghetto music, and sometimes they can make interesting things. Like there's no rules. Like it's so complex now. You even like. Now it's becoming impossible to say that a music comes from a certain location, because it's like back and forth all the time. Even like, I mean, for a while you can say that third world countries were very inspired by Western pop music, and now the general consensus is to say that Western pop music is in its turn getting influenced by those third world countries. And it's a cycle, you know, like it's like we get influenced by some sounds that they came up with, being influenced by us, that we came up with being influenced by them. And it's like, and now people travel way more. I mean, now the third world is at your door, you know, like, I mean, we're in Hackney here. It's funny that I'm really, it's very emotional for me to be here because I've been living 5 years in this area until 2 weeks ago.
And what about when the people come in asking you to do remixes and you become part of that culture? Do you feel that something that you have now is being bought, that maybe you've discovered some kind of secret that can refresh certain types of commercial pop? Do you ever feel like you're being hired for that insight?
Yeah, definitely, because it's still the early days for like, I mean, it was probably way more controversial a few years ago for people like us to just take elements from different culture. I think it's part of the guilt, you know, of Western people. I mean, we've been exploiting those people on an economic and political level for so many years. What happens if now we take their musical ideas?
Yes.
I mean, it's none of my concern as an artist, but I understand why people think like that.
Yeah.
But I just feel now it's a generation movement, you know. I think there's thousands of kids just like me who are growing up now listening to African music, and of course it's going to have an impact on the day they decide to make their own music.
Yeah.
It's really hard to control your influence, you know. You never know what's going to hit you, you know. It could be, especially with music, it's such an abstract thing, you know. Anything can be an influence, even ambient sounds, you know, even sounds I hear in the street. When I walk in the street, I never know what sound is going to hit me, and I'm going to be like, wow, why didn't I have a microphone to record that?
I remember a few years ago when people made a record, and if there was a world where it was going to be called world music and it was going to be in the world section in a record shop, there was great dismay because no one would be noticing it. It would just be in the cobwebbed corner. And the idea that it should come over here, it should come over into where everything else is. So instead of it being dismissed as a genre, it's in fact just with pop. It's just filed under pop in the way that it's so much under pop, and that it, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. Our album, for instance, on iTunes in France, our album is in the world music section,
right, yes.
and when you see what other records people bought, it's only world music records.
Yeah.
In England, we were in the pop section,
yes.
and therefore you could see people were buying, people were coming from a pop background, and it's really annoying because in both territories we wanted to reach both.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately there's not going to be a miraculous solution, and we're going to have to wait for pop to be accepted as a worldwide phenomenon. For the people who sell the music to put staff bendability together with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow, but...
No. But do you think that kind of thing can happen? Do you think it is? I see signs that it's beginning to happen more.
Yeah.
There's still a sense that it's...
I really think it does, actually. Yeah. I think, you know, look at the success of Buena Vista Social Club, which was a worldwide phenomenon. In Africa, for instance, I think, you know, like, people have been making reggae in Africa for the last 30 years. They all listen and they all love reggae. They all make reggae. They used to think reggae was cooler than their own culture. I think it's slowly changing now. Kids are slowly realizing that their background is interesting as well. And it's the same thing happened with hip hop, which is immensely popular in Africa. And I'm really waiting for them to realize that hip hop is most of the time done by American people better, same as reggae, you know, like there's a few African reggae artists that are interesting, but at the end of the day, the best people doing it is Caribbean people. Yeah. And I think now African new generation of kids are like realizing that they don't need outsiders' ideas to be cool, and they actually they're actually sitting on a gold mine of
absolutely.
Of
do you think sometimes that's a kind of inferiority complex, seeing the Anglo-American sort of empire being so powerful that they somehow...
Probably, but it's probably to do with money, you know, like especially the hip hop world, you see them like flashing money, cars and girls and stuff, and when you're 12, like of course it shocks you.
Because that's an interesting thing about our perception of other countries, and the music is a possibility to really stop there being barriers, stop there being divisions between different beliefs and different cultures. Definitely. The idea that music can lift us all above it. Yeah,
it's like football. It's a source of great proudness for a people, and it really reinforces the social. It can bring people together. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have that moral dimension in the way you make your music? Do you have that sense? I mean, it's obviously about pleasure, and it's obviously about communicating, you know, dance.
Yeah, no, I do have this sense I never had a very intellectual approach to music. That's why I think I'm more of a pop music fan, and I like music who speaks to a lot of people. I mean, if my music was speaking to 300 people, even if they were die-hard fans and they would be ready to die for it, I don't think I'd be very satisfied as an artist. For me, and that's why sometimes there's music that I don't really understand, but if I see that it ends up selling 5 million records, I'm not gonna say it's only a money thing, it's only because the major labels spend all this marketing and stuff. I know there's something deeper than that because it speaks to people.
Etienne, thank you ever so
much.
Thank you. Brilliant, man.